Fortify your spirit, 3 miraculous prayers for divine strength and heavenly blessings today. Elizabeth sat in the old stone church, her heart heavy with the burden of her family's struggles. With her husband, Daniel, bedridden for months and the mounting medical bills casting a shadow over their humble home, hope felt like a distant whisper. But this evening was different. The air buzzed with anticipation as the visiting pastor, renowned for his miraculous claims, prepared to lead a special prayer service. "Have faith," he declared, his voice rising above the flickering candlelight. "Tonight, I will share 3 powerful prayers, paths to divine strength and heavenly blessings." His words sent a thrill through Elizabeth's spirit, igniting flickers of hope that had long been dormant. What could these prayers unleash over her family? As the pastor invoked the first prayer, a soft glow enveloped the congregation, casting shimmering light upon faces etched with worry. Elizabeth felt a profound warmth wash over her, as though the very presence of the divine swept through the room. It was a moment laden with promise, the promise of change, of restoration. Yet doubt still loitered in the depths of her heart, intertwining seamlessly with the glimmers of belief. Could they bring her family healing? Just as the second prayer unfolded, an unexpected storm rolled in, rattling the church windows as supernatural winds howled outside. "Pray," the pastor urged. "Pray with all your might." The villagers lifted their voices in unison while the rain pounded against the stone walls, a rhythmic reminder of their plea for strength. But in that stormy chaos, Elizabeth's fears began to thrash around like the tempest outside. Her husband's fate loomed large, and an urgency to find tangible solutions taunted her faith. "Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The third prayer began, building to a powerful crescendo that seemed to shake the very rafters of the church. Elizabeth's heart thundered in her chest, battling tumultuous thoughts. Yet amidst her uncertainty, the warmth of communal support ignited a flicker of hope. The heartfelt cries of her neighbors echoed like a hymn down the narrow aisles. Just then, a bolt of lightning illuminated the night, followed by a magnificent crash of thunder that pierced the heavens, shaking her to her very core. It was at this moment of greatest despair that the pastor's words reached their pinnacle. Elizabeth felt something shift deep within her soul, a divine energy coursing through, an awakening that pricked at the edges of her consciousness. Then, something miraculous happened. In a vision that felt palpable, she saw a radiant being, cloaked in light, whispering sweet reassurances. "I have a plan for your family, Elizabeth. Trust in my timing." When she blinked, the vision faded, but the serenity lingered, filling her heart with divine purpose. Awakening with renewed urgency, Elizabeth rushed back to her community. As prayers swelled around her, the atmosphere thickened with a tangible energy, stretching beyond the physical realm. But doubt still loomed, lurking like shadows. Would they witness the miracle they so desperately craved? Or was sadness still to linger like a storm cloud over their heads? Elizabeth stood at the precipice, heart racing, yearning for the divine intervention they had prayed for. What awaited her and the village in the coming days? As the days rolled on and the storm subsided, Elizabeth found herself engulfed in a sense of calm. The heaviness that had pressed against her chest now felt lighter, almost as if the gentle hands of grace were massaging away her burdens. Each morning, the sun broke through her window, casting golden rays across the modest bedroom where Daniel lay. Though his body remained frail, Elizabeth often found herself whispering the reassurance she received in the vision. Trust in his timing, she would murmur softly, a promise to both herself and her beloved. The village buzzed with whispers of the recent prayer gathering, a flickering flame of hope ignited within each soul. Neighbors began to visit, sharing stories of prayer requests that seemed too audacious, yet somehow felt possible now. As they gathered, their laughter filled the air, lightening their hearts in unison. It was as if the storm had washed away the scales from their eyes, allowing them to see beyond their current struggles. One afternoon, Elizabeth decided to bake bread for the villagers, a simple act, but rich with love. As she kneaded the dough, her hands worked out her worries like a prayer manifesting into reality. The kitchen filled with the warm scent of yeast and sweetness, lifting her spirits higher with every moment that passed. Soon, the door creaked open and in walked Mrs. Thompson, her neighbor and a source of steadfast support. "Elizabeth, dear. It smells heavenly in here," she exclaimed, wearing a smile that could brighten any room. "Come in, Mrs. Thompson. Baking is much more enjoyable with company," she responded, wiping her flour-dusted hands on her apron. As they sat together over fresh bread and butter, Elizabeth shared about the visions she had during the prayer service. Tears glimmered in Mrs. Thompson's eyes as she listened intently. "Oh, how marvelous! We can't forget the words spoken that night. Believing in hope can shift the very foundations of our lives." Encouraged by their conversation, Elizabeth shared these sentiments with others in the village, igniting a spark of faith that spread from heart to heart. They began meeting regularly, sharing their prayers and worries, but also their testimonies of the goodness in their lives. Each gathering, they would read devotionals and sing songs of praise, allowing the beauty of community to fortify their spirits. But deep within her, Elizabeth still felt the gentle tug of doubt. Would Daniel truly heal? Would they witness the miracles she fervently hoped for? The memory of the pastor's voice echoed in her mind, urging faith. But it was a faith that needed nurturing. Elizabeth turned to her beloved Bible, the pages worn and cherished. "Lord," she prayed one night, kneeling by her side of the bed, "give me strength and clarity. Help me to see beyond the veil of uncertainty." In those hushed moments, she felt the wave of warm peace envelop her again, reassuring and steadfast, as it had during the prayers. Just then, a movement caught her eye. Daniel stirred slightly, his eyelids flickering like the flames of the candles that often adorned their dining table. Could this be the beginning? A whisper of hope flowed through her. But as the days turned to weeks, the questions lingered. What if he did not wake as she so desperately prayed? Would her faith withstand the trial if the answers didn't align with her wishes? The time had come for another gathering, a night filled with prayer, songs, and sharing. A night where they would ask for clarity and divine direction. Elizabeth could feel the anticipation in her bones, mixed with a hint of trepidation. What would unfold that night? Would they unleash the power of their collective faith? The very thought quickened her pulse, spiraling deeper into the unknown. The evening settled over the village like a soft blanket, cradling hearts aglow with fervor and expectation. Elizabeth stood by her window, peering into the dim light that flickered from the lanterns lining the pathway to the church. Each light seemed alive, a beacon guiding spirits in search of solace and strength. Tonight was different, a palpable electricity filled the air. She could hear the murmurs of her neighbors, their excitement bubbling forth as individuals slipped silently into the chapel like doves returning to their nest. They carried their own burdens but also the shared hope that united them all, a tapestry woven by steady hands of faith. Elizabeth grabbed her coat and made her way to join them, each step pulling her deeper into a reverent anticipation. The wooden doors of the chapel creaked open, revealing a sanctuary adorned with soft candles and fragrant flowers, a haven of prayer. Inside, the familiar faces greeted her, each one a reflection of shared struggles and dreams. She found a seat among them, where warm smiles and gentle nods reminded her that she was never alone. As the gathering commenced, the pastor welcomed everyone with a voice that resonated like a melody, encouraging each heart to open and give voice to their innermost cries. "Tonight, let us approach the Lord with boldness," he said, his tone steady and inviting. "Let us share our hopes, our fears, and let us pray for the miraculous." Elizabeth felt a twinge of anxiety, tinged with hope. What if their prayers would herald a change? What if this gathering were a turning point, a time for the extraordinary to unfold in their lives? One by one, the villagers took their turns. They whispered their prayers into the gathering air, each sigh a request to the divine. For my son's safe travels, for healing in our community, for peace in the times of uncertainty, each plea entwined with faith, rising like smoke from a flickering candle, reaching heavenward where miracles awaited. As Elizabeth listened, her heart swelled with warmth. They spoke the words she found hard to express, bringing comfort to the wreckage of her own fears. It was then that she realized their prayers were not just cries in the dark, they were a tapestry of belief, each thread woven with intention, hope, and love. When it was her turn, Elizabeth gripped the edges of her seat. "Lord," she began, her voice trembling slightly, "we gather here as humble servants, yearning for your touch. Heal our hearts, guide our paths, and especially, I ask for Daniel. Grant him strength, let us feel your presence among us. Show us your will." A hush fell over the gathering, the weight of her words hanging heavily in the air. Then, as if to echo her plea, a soft breeze drifted through the chapel, extinguishing some of the candles. Murmurs spread like ripples in a pond, eyes widening in surprise. But Elizabeth felt a thrill, an inexplicable assurance that God was there, among them. Their prayers had ignited something, a spark that seemed to flicker in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to burst into flames. After the prayers, they sang hymns, voices melding together, lifting higher and higher, as if reaching toward the very skies. Elizabeth felt buoyed, each note buoying her spirit, a reminder that they had come together in the most divine unity. Yet still, her heart struggled with questions. As she closed her eyes, the stirring sensation within her grew. Would this truly resonate with Daniel? Would he awaken, bringing the answers they longed for? As the last notes faded and the gathering gently concluded, laughter and warmth surrounded her. But in that soft glow, a deeper mystery beckoned. What extraordinary revelation might wait just around the corner? Would their prayers lead to the very miracles they sought? The chapel doors opened again, letting in a chill that danced through the room like an unexpected visitor. Elizabeth's heart quickened. She glanced back, curiosity blooming as she recognized the figure stepping inside. It was Daniel's sister, Mary, her face illuminated by a mixture of hope and worry. As she approached, Elizabeth noted the glint in Mary's eye, a reflection of shared burdens. She moved closer, drawn to the flicker of concern that flickered within her. "Everyone was just finished with prayer," Elizabeth began, but Mary interrupted, her voice barely above a whisper. "He's awake, Elizabeth. The doctors say, it's a miracle." A gasp echoed through the chapel, swelling the air with raw emotion. The gathering that had been a cradle of light a moment ago now surged with joy and disbelief. Elizabeth felt the room spin slightly, her heart bursting with a cocktail of cautious hope and overwhelming gratitude. "What do you mean?" she asked, needing clarity amid the exhilaration. "Yesterday they feared the worst. But this morning, he opened his eyes and spoke. He even asked for you," Mary said, her words a melody cascading over the stunned audience. "They're saying it's beyond explanation. It's just miraculous." Tears welled up in Elizabeth's eyes. The prayers had carried forth on wings of faith, folding their desires into a heavenly tapestry. "What do the doctors say? Is he all right?" she managed, the urgency in her voice blending with a growing tide of faith shimmering in the air. Mary's face softened with hope. "They say the signs are promising. He feels stronger, and he's able to recall things he couldn't remember before. It's as if a veil has been lifted, and it's all because of the prayers, Elizabeth." As the weight of the news settled, a palpable wave of emotion coursed through the congregation. Each face, once filled with quiet hope, now glimmered with the possibility of miracles in their own lives. It was an echo of faith realized, the threads woven together bore witness to God's goodness. Elizabeth raised her hands, unable to contain her heart's fervent praises. "Thank you, Lord. Thank you for hearing our cries." The pastor took a step forward, his voice a steady anchor amidst the jubilation. "Let this be a testament to us all. God moves in ways that defy our understanding. His eyes scanned the room, locking onto those filled with hope. This is a time to reaffirm our faith, to know that our prayers are like seeds, planted deep in the soil of the divine, waiting to blossom when nurtured with belief. As Elizabeth stood amidst the swell of hope, she felt compelled. "We must go to him," she declared, glancing around at the faces glowing with encouragement. "He needs to know he is loved, that his recovery isn't just a miracle for him, it's a miracle for all of us." The congregation stirred, energized by her words, a collective spirit igniting in that sacred space. They gathered their coats, laughter mingling with the air, the atmosphere alive with possibility. As they left the chapel, Elizabeth's heart soared. The path to Daniel felt like walking through a garden where faith and hope blossomed in wild abundance. Yet, with each step toward the hospital, there was a thread of uncertainty weaving through her joy. What if Daniel's awakening came with challenges they hadn't foreseen? What if the road ahead was not as smooth as anticipated? As they approached the hospital, Elizabeth sensed something stirring within her, something not just for Daniel, but for all those who gathered that night. Was their belief about to unfurl into something even greater than any of them could have imagined? A revelation that would bind them closer than ever before? With hearts fortified, they entered the premises, unaware that divine wonder was about to unfold before them. The atmosphere inside the hospital buzzed with an electric tension, the kind that seemed to pulse in unison with Elizabeth's heartbeat. She felt the weight of her friends and fellow congregation members closing in around her, their combined faith forming a protective barrier against any lingering doubts. As they moved through the sterile corridors, the bright lights above felt almost like heavenly beacons guiding their way. "Isn't it amazing?" whispered Sarah, a close friend who walked beside Elizabeth. "Just yesterday, we were praying for a miracle, and now here we are, about to witness one." Her tone brimmed with awe, reflecting the collective excitement swirling among them. "Yes," Elizabeth replied, her heart racing. "This is more than just recovery, it's a sign of God's grace." She felt the warmth of Sarah's hand on her arm, a tangible reminder of their shared faith and the unbreakable bond they now shared, a love built on prayer and mutual encouragement. As they reached Daniel's room, the door stood slightly ajar, revealing a faint glow from inside. Elizabeth hesitated, her breath hitching in her throat. What if he's different?" she murmured, the worry creeping back into her thoughts. "Different how?" Sarah asked, her voice soothing. "He's alive, and he knows you. That's what matters now." With a soft nod, Elizabeth pushed the door open, and they stepped inside together, hearts racing and hands trembling. Daniel lay in bed, surrounded by a cascade of flowers and cards. He turned his head, his eyes meeting Elizabeth's with a spark of recognition. "Elizabeth?" he croaked, his voice raspy but undeniably filled with warmth. It was a sound that echoed like music in Elizabeth's heart, blooming hope within her. "I'm here, Daniel," she exclaimed, rushing to his side. The joy that filled the room was palpable, washing over them like a gentle wave. As the others filtered in, Daniel's eyes widened, finally drinking in the love that enveloped him. "Everyone, you all prayed for me?" he asked, disbelief still wrapping around his words. "Yes. We did." Mary stepped forward. "And look at you now. You're awake." Tears slipped down Daniel's cheeks. "I felt you all, I felt your prayers, so strong." With a labored breath, he added, "I didn't know if I'd ever see any of you again." Elizabeth took his hand, feeling the warmth of life's pulse surging through him. "Look at you. You're a miracle, Daniel. God is not done with you yet." The significance of her words settled like dew upon the ground, raining solace over them all. As the conversations flowed, they recounted memories and shared stories, laughter blending seamlessly with heartfelt sentiments. The room transformed into a sanctuary. Elizabeth felt her spirit lift. It was as if each collective confession of gratitude built an invisible monument to the power of faith, but in the quiet moments between the chatter, a question lingered in Elizabeth's mind. What had been uncovered beneath the miraculous awakening? Was there a deeper purpose to Daniel's revival, a message for all of them, waiting to be revealed? Her introspection was interrupted by Daniel's call. "What if I told you I had a vision while I was gone?" A hush fell over the group. Every pair of eyes turned towards him, anticipation hanging thick in the air. Elizabeth's breath caught. "What do you mean?" she asked, her heart racing with curiosity. Daniel smiled as if preparing to share a secret, his gaze piercing through the surface of their current reality. It was something so beautiful, so transformative, everyone leaned in closer, mesmerized by the unfolding mystery. In that moment, they understood, what they were witnessing was not just a miracle, this was the beginning of something much greater. Daniel's eyes sparkled with an inner light, as though he were a window into something profound and divine. It felt as if I was floating free from all burdens. I was surrounded by a brilliant light, and in that light, I saw faces of those I've known, who have passed on. A ripple of emotion threaded through the room. Sarah gasped, her hand covering her mouth. "What did you see, Daniel? What were they saying?" "They were smiling." Daniel's voice grew stronger. "They told me about love, unconditional love. They spoke of forgiveness, of hope stretching beyond anything we understand. There was a peace I can hardly describe, but it filled every part of me." As he spoke, Elizabeth felt warmth wrapping around her heart. The light streaming in through the window seemed to grow brighter, filling every corner with a golden hue. It felt like an embrace, tender and reassuring, so tangible it made her skin tingle. Daniel's words echoed deep within her soul, striking chords of longing and inspiration. "I knew I had to come back," he continued, sensing the weight of their collective curiosity. "There's a purpose. I can't shake the feeling that my return isn't just for me, it's for something larger. For us." "What do you mean?" Elizabeth asked, her voice steady but eager. "What is this purpose you speak of?" The room fell silent again, charged with expectancy, as Daniel shifted in his bed, gathering strength. "During that vision, I was shown a community, a family of believers united in love and purpose. I witnessed joy being shared in our congregation, hearts lifted in worship. But it was more than that, it was a call to action. A call to embrace our struggles and lift one another." His words hung in the air like incense, filling everyone with a sense of divine destiny. Mary leaned closer, battling tears of overwhelming joy. "What are we to do then? How do we answer this call?" Daniel smiled softly. "We must open our hearts more fully, we must reach out to one another. Sharing our burdens. Our struggles. We need to let love guide our actions. It's time to be real, to be honest. It is through our vulnerability that God's light will shine. And in doing so, we might witness more miracles, miracles woven through compassion, understanding, and unity." Elizabeth felt her pulse quicken at his revelation, a tidal wave of truth washing over her. What if their collective hopes and prayers could ignite change? What if they took Daniel's words to heart? The idea felt electric, pulsating with every beat of faith within her. "Unity!" Sarah exclaimed, her voice full of fervor. "This is our calling. Yes, we are stronger together. Each one of us has a role to play." Daniel grinned, encouraged by their enthusiasm. As they shared ideas and plans, the room buzzed with renewed purpose. However, amid the excitement, a thought began to niggle at Elizabeth's heart. What if Daniel's vision was not just a passive message but an urgent challenge? And what would it require of them? The conversation swirled around her, yet her mind drifted deeper, pondering the implications. "Does this mean, Daniel," she ventured carefully, "that we need to prepare ourselves for something bigger? Something unexpected?" Daniel nodded solemnly. "If we embrace this, the journey ahead may hold surprises we weren't ready for, but they are part of his plan." The weight of that revelation hung in the air, charged with the possibility of fear and joy intermingling like the dawn meeting the night. What awaited them on this new path? As that uncertainty loomed, Elizabeth couldn't shake the feeling that they were standing on the precipice of something extraordinary. But for now, all they had was their faith, hope igniting their spirits. What awaited them as they embarked on this divine adventure? Would they possess the courage to fulfill the promise of the vision? The days turned into a soft blur, with the golden light streaming through the window casting gentle shadows over the lives of those touched by Daniel's words. They found themselves caught in a whirlwind of excitement and uncertainty, hearts beating in sync with a new rhythm of purpose. Elizabeth often found herself lost in thought, her mind dancing around the possibilities of the new path they were to embark upon. The conversation with Daniel replayed in her mind like a cherished melody. Unity, compassion, vulnerability, words that now carried weight heavier than stones, yet somehow felt lighter than air. One evening, as the sky melted into hues of orange and purple, Elizabeth gathered her courage to speak again. She sat in her favorite spot by the window, the light filtering through the leaves, reminding her of the divine presence around them. "We need to meet more often," she said to the gathering, her voice steady yet humble. "To share our hearts, to pray, and to seek His guidance together. That is how we can prepare." Nods of agreement swept through the room, igniting a spark in their spirits. They began to plan regular gatherings, a sanctuary where they could explore their faith together, lifting one another up as one family. Daniel, though still recovering, radiated a warmth that reminded them of the promises they had witnessed together. They were a group yearning for transformation, a community bruised by life but eager to heal collectively. "Let us not treat this lightly," he urged one evening, his voice a gentle echo of passion. "What we're stepping into demands more than just gathering. It requires commitment and surrender." "And love," Sarah interjected fervently. "We need to let love lead the way." The love Daniel spoke of, the real stuff. It's what binds us to God and to each other. A ripple of energy passed through the group, propelling them to dig deeper. They shared their fears, their doubts, their wounds, laying bare the things they often hid behind a mask of everyday life. And the more they shared, the light around them seemed to intensify. "Imagine what we could do," Elizabeth said, allowing her heart to paint a picture for them. "Imagine if we united our faith, our love. We could reach those around us, bring them in, let them feel that warmth, that peace." One by one, the group began to share what they hoped to achieve. Some spoke of feeding the hungry. Others yearned to visit the lonely in nursing homes, and a few felt called to host prayer circles in their neighborhoods. Each idea remained rooted in the love that Daniel had shown them, the love meant to overflow, to touch every corner of their community. But as they planned, a shadow flickered at the edge of Elizabeth's heart. What if their dreams brought challenges they were unprepared for? What if stepping into the light exposed them to places of discomfort? "Daniel," she said, her voice quivering slightly, "what if we face opposition? What if we fail?" He met her gaze, his eyes gleaming with understanding. "Fear is part of the journey, Elizabeth. It's what we do with that fear that counts. We must lean into God, take heart, and remember our strength lies in Him." As the evening wound down, a gentle hush fell over the group. The air felt thick with the sacredness of what was unfolding. Each heart beat in rhythm, echoing the idea that they were destined for more, called to reach out with hands of love. What awaited them, nestled in that divine adventure? Would they have the faith to overcome their fears and embrace each moment as a sacred offering? Elizabeth leaned back in her chair, the sunset casting a gentle glow on her face, pondering the question that quaked within her spirit. How would they rise to meet the call? In the quiet that enveloped them, she sensed a deeper truth beckoning. Something awaited them beyond the horizon of their expectations. As the days waned and gathered into weeks, Elizabeth found herself swept along through a tide of determination. Each gathering became a tapestry of dreams stitched together by shared prayers and heartfelt conversations. With every meeting, they peeled back the layers of uncertainty, revealing a yearning to let their faith shine. One crisp morning, beneath a sky brushed with the calm of dawn, Elizabeth sat on her porch, a steaming cup of tea cradled between her hands. The warmth seeped into her palms, grounding her as she looked out over the neighborhood. Birds flitted joyfully between trees, and the world felt alive with promise. It struck her that what they were all seeking, a shared mission of love, could indeed transform the mundane into the miraculous. Later that night, as they gathered, the atmosphere hummed with expectancy. Daniel spoke, his voice steady and full of warmth. "Let us talk about what we can do as a community. Our plans need direction. Together, we can sow the seeds of hope. Let us pray over each idea, and allow the Spirit to lead us." The room filled with murmurs of agreement, hearts echoing with excitement. Sarah stepped forward, her eyes glinting with purpose. "We should not just focus on our own community but also reach out beyond. There are many souls yearning for connection and solace." A fire ignited within them as they envisioned the possibilities. "Imagine organizing a community feast," someone suggested, "inviting everyone, regardless of their background. A day when all gather as one, savoring food and fellowship." Laughter bubbled among them, each idea sparking another. "What if we created care packages for those who have lost loved ones?" Another voice chimed in. "A gesture to let them know they are not alone." The brainstorming swirled in a beautiful dance, each concept building upon the last, crafting a mosaic of love and support. Yet, amid the excitement, Elizabeth felt the tender flicker of doubt creeping back in. Would their plans be enough? Would their enthusiasm maintain strength when faced with challenges? As if sensing her inner turmoil, Daniel turned to her with a smile that spoke of compassion. "Elizabeth, when we draw near to God, our works become His works. Each desire to help is planted by Him, and He will bring forth the harvest." His words, dripping with assurance, wrapped around her heart and ignited a flame of hope. The group fell into a silence filled with understanding. They had each come face to face with their fears, but a resolve simmered beneath their uncertainties. "How do we keep our roots strong?" Elizabeth finally asked, her voice a whisper, filled with wonder. "Prayer and gratitude," Sarah suggested. "Let us not forget to celebrate the little victories along the way." They all nodded, and a collective sense of lightness washed over them. In that space, confidence grew, thorns of worry fading under the promise of faith. As they closed in prayer, hands clasped tightly, Elizabeth felt the energy of their shared devotion pulse through the room. It lifted her heart higher and filled her with a peace she hadn't known before, a quiet conviction that this journey was truly blessed. But then, a doubt grazed her spirit again. What if the world outside their unity sought to tear them apart? Would their faith withstand the trials sure to come? And as they lingered in the sacred silence, she couldn't shake the feeling that something significant awaited them, calling them beyond the horizon of their safe expectations. The sun dipped behind the hills, casting a warm glow across the gathering place where Elizabeth and her friends met. A sense of unity enveloped them, as they all carried the anticipation of what the future held. The candles flickered around the room, illuminating faces filled with hope and devotion. "Tonight," Daniel began, his voice quiet yet firm, "let's spend some time in worship and reflection before we dive deeper into our plans." Soft music filled the air, weaving its way around their hearts, inviting them to enter into a sacred hush. Each person took a moment to close their eyes, drawing in deep breaths infused with faith. As the melody flowed, Elizabeth felt a stir in her spirit. It was as though her heart yearned to echo the song of their intentions. Warmth spread through her chest as a simple prayer surfaced, "Dear Lord, guide us, unite our hearts." The words tumbled softly in her mind, spilling over like sweet water from a well. Around her, she felt others draw closer, seeking their own connection with the divine. Whispers of prayers mingled together, creating a symphony of longing and surrender. Suddenly, Elizabeth's thoughts drifted to the care packages they had discussed. She envisioned each one wrapped with tenderness, filled with little tokens of love. What if, she spoke out softly, interrupting the gentle reverie, we included handwritten notes of encouragement? The suggestion hung in the air, and some heads turned with nods in agreement. She felt a rush of joy, realizing that simple words could touch a weary heart. Yes. Those notes could carry the love of Christ, Sarah replied eagerly. They could remind someone they are seen, heard, and cherished. The conversation blossomed again, branching out into more ideas: baking treats, hosting prayer circles, or visiting lonely neighbors. A wave of purpose washed over them, igniting their mission to reach beyond mere gestures, but as the energy spiraled higher, doubts rippled within Elizabeth again. In the excitement, she couldn't shake her fear of failing. What if their efforts fell short? What if they faced rejection? She grappled with the enormity of the task at hand. Sensing her turmoil, Daniel caught her gaze, his expression understanding. "Remember, Elizabeth, he doesn't call the equipped," he said gently, "he equips the called." Those words sank deep, wrapping around her like a warm embrace. Did God not choose the unlikely? Did he not revel in the small acts of faith? The world often shouted its cynicism, yet here they stood, defiant in their shared hope. "Let us take a leap," Daniel urged, voice rising with conviction. "If we can extend even a small light, who knows what doors might open?" As the room buzzed with renewed determination, Elizabeth closed her eyes, the world around her vanished. It was just her and God. She whispered a prayer, surrendering her fears. "Lord, fortify our spirits. Let our strength rise not from our abilities, but from you. Let us be your instruments." A hush settled, and in that sacred space, she felt an inexplicable peace wash over her, stronger than all her doubts. Yet, even amid hope, uncertainty loomed. What obstacles would they face when they stepped outside their comfort zones? Was their collective faith enough to stand tall against the storms ahead? And just as the questions clung to her heart, Elizabeth sensed the winds of change stirring. A gentle breeze of promise kissed her face, whispering that something magnificent was on the verge of unfolding, something beyond their wildest dreams. In that sacred space, the atmosphere thickened with possibility. The flickering candlelight cast dancing shadows as Elizabeth's heart soared with a new sense of purpose. Days turned into decisive weeks where faith was interwoven into action. The community gathered, hand in hand, a tapestry made stronger by every thread of courage and love they shared. The idea of care packages took root with fervor, their efforts a tangible expression of compassion. In Elizabeth's kitchen, laughter and creativity whirled together as neighbors crafted handwritten notes, baking treats, and filling sturdy boxes with love. Every gift crafted held a prayer inside it, a wish for strength and healing. They envisioned the smiles of those who would receive them, faces that would light up with their simple acts of kindness. Elizabeth could already feel the ripple of joy spreading. "Can you imagine the impact we'll have?" Sarah beamed, her cheeks flushed with excitement as they completed the last of the packages. "Yes. Every little act holds the power of hope," Elizabeth responded, her spirit lifted by the energy of cooperation. The doubts that had snuck into her heart earlier began to fade, replaced by a growing confidence rooted in purpose. As the day of distribution approached, they planned a community feast to gather everyone for unity. On that warm Saturday, the village square bloomed with vibrancy, tables adorned with colorful cloths, food laid out like an offering, and music dancing through the air. Elizabeth stood at the center, her heart swelling with gratitude as she looked around at the village now alive with joy and connection. Friends, families, and even strangers slowly gathered, their hearts eager for community. Just then, laughter erupted as a group of children raced through the square, innocence-covered smiles illuminating their faces. "Look at them. How beautiful," Daniel remarked, joining her side, still recovering yet radiant with newfound strength. At that moment, Elizabeth realized this wasn't just a gathering, it was a homecoming, a celebration of faith, love, and divine purpose woven into every detail. "Let us pray," she proposed, gathering their friends around her. "Lord, we come together as one family, asking for your blessing on this feast and everyone who walks through these doors. May they feel your love in every bite, every smile, every shared moment." When they finished praying, Elizabeth opened her eyes to see the crowd, faith igniting in their spirits. "Welcome," she called out, her heart alight with hope. "Today, we celebrate our blessings and share our burdens together. As the festivities unfolded, stories of healing and gratitude erupted like fireworks of faith illuminating the hearts of the villagers. Each tale rekindled purpose, forging bonds deeper than mere acquaintances. Elizabeth felt splashes of joy washing over her as neighbors connected, shared burdens, and exchanged laughter. Yet, amid the beauty of unity, Elizabeth felt something deep stirring and undeniable yearning rippling beneath the surface. As more villagers joined at the tables overflowing with delicious food and warmth, an elderly man approached them. His face etched with lines of experience but glowing with the light of wisdom. "Elizabeth," he said, his voice gravelly yet soft, "tell me about these care packages. I heard they're filled with love." Elizabeth felt a hush settle among them, all ears now fixated on her. "Yes. We aim to show those struggling they're not alone, to remind them we're here to share love and light." The old man smiled knowingly. "That's a powerful mission. Have you ever considered the struggles you might carry as well? Remember, sometimes it's in giving that we find our own healing." Elizabeth's heart tightened as his words wrapped around her thoughts of her own struggles with doubt seeped back in, but they were softened by his insight. It stirred the questions she had tried so hard to ignore. "Perhaps we need to share not only our love but also our burdens, our vulnerabilities," she added, courage rising within her. "Only then can we create true understanding and connection." "So be it," Daniel nodded, agreeing with her sentiment. "Today isn't merely about feasting, it's about riding together on this journey, celebrating our highs while bearing each other's lows." The crowd responded with a hum of agreement, and as more voices joined, Elizabeth felt a wave of relief wash over her. Sharing became a point of strength, and the act of giving turned inward, forging a deeper sense of community. Throughout the day, conversations shifted. They shared stories not just of triumph but of struggle, of loss, pain, questions, and fear. And as they spoke, Elizabeth felt her burdens becoming lighter, broken down by the collective strength formed in trust and vulnerability. The sun began to set, casting golden hues across the gathering. The air was thick with a sense of sacredness and connection. And as the last of the feasting dwindled, Elizabeth gathered everyone once more. "Thank you for showing up today," she said, her voice filled with sincerity. "Let us not allow this moment to be isolated. Let us carry this light forward united as one. Together, we can hold each other in our darkest hours and celebrate our joy in the brightest." Then, the final prayer resonated in the hearts of each attendee, sealing their unity, fortifying their spirits, and reminding them that hope springs eternal. As they dispersed later that night, hand in hand and heart to heart, Elizabeth felt enveloped by an unshakable conviction that this was just the beginning of their divine journey. They had witnessed the power of faith, love, and unity, and their hearts were steeled against the uncertainties waiting ahead. In the coming weeks, they faced hurdles, of course, but the light forged among them seemed to shine even brighter, a lighthouse guiding them through life's storms. As Elizabeth knelt in gratitude that evening, she whispered, "Lord, thank you for this family of believers. Strengthen us, lead us, and allow us to shine even brighter in your glory." And she knew, no matter what lay ahead, each step forward would be a step towards a miracle, the unseen ripples of love turning into waves of transformation. Confidence surged in her heart as they embraced their calling. Their mission carried the potential to transform all who crossed their path. With unity and love as their foundation, Elizabeth believed the sky was just a heart's leap away. The journey wasn't just about faith, it was a sacred legacy, a legacy that would echo for generations to come. Now, beloved community, this is the time to embrace love and connection. Don't wait another moment. Subscribe immediately to our channel to not miss the next exclusive faith stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and share the blessing. Comment your reactions and testimonies about this beautiful ending, and finally, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this manifestation. Only true servants of God understand the importance of supporting our mission through these actions. Let's light the way together.